Alright, so the previous chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen was pretty information heavy, and with this chapter 2 continues that trend. We pick up where we left off with the sorcerers in the presence of Master Tengen discussing the so-called angel with the ability to extinguish any curse technique. Tengen would go on to confirm that the angel's curse technique can open the back of the prison realm, the back being the second part of the item used to capture Gojo, which we were just introduced to in the previous chapter. The location of this angel would be said to be in the colony in the east side of Tokyo. However, because of the game's barrier rejecting him, Master Tengen had no more information to offer on that. Now, things would be a bit tricky here because Tengen would explain that there are 10 colonies around Japan which are connected by barriers that form a line that sends humans in Japan to the other side. Itadori's mental image of this would be shown, and what it looks like here is 2 outer points which would move and cover the map, however excluding the northern part of Japan, Hokkaido. Hokkaido would be excluded because of the Jujutsu Society barrier. It's already established as a vast sacred area, which I suppose is cool because hey, Hokkaido is a pretty great place, the home of great sushi. Now anyway, as for the ritual, Tengen would confirm that this would take about 2 months to complete, but it would of course depend on the game. The chapter would then run through the rules of the game, establishing a few things as they went along. For starters, because of rule number 1 regarding declaring participation for the game within 19 days after awakening a curse technique, Sumiki now as of this moment in the chapter has roughly 10 days and 15 hours to declare her participation. Then there's rule number 2 about a player who breaks rule number 1 being subjected to curse technique removal. It's believed that this isn't achieved through idle transfiguration. It's not proscription but removal, meaning there is no binding vow, which would mean something happens to the brain of said individual, which implies that the individual would of course die. Otherwise, of course, everyone would refuse to participate in these games. Because of this, sorcerers like Maki who don't have a curse technique are not at risk, and that raises the question of Itadori. He technically does not have a curse technique unless you consider that to be Sukuna, so there should be a case where certain rules do not apply to both Maki and potentially Itadori as well. And following all that new information, Maki would have to wonder about Panda because she's not even sure he has a brain, which I'm now wondering about because to me, of course he does, but now that it's been brought into question, I'm starting to lose confidence in that. But what do you guys think? Does Panda have a brain? But continuing on, we have rule number 3. Non-players who enter the colony become players at the moment of entry and are considered to have declared participation. However, as for the civilians who are already inside, they'll be given at least 1 chance to exit. Very kind of Brain-kun. I suppose he's not a total madman, maybe. There's a certain emphasis on it though being the player's own choice to have entered the game. The rules of earning points would then come up, and a standout point for conversation would be the fact that, as a general rule, sorcerers are worth 5 points and non-sorcerers are worth 1 point. Itadori would point out that this seemed vague. Again, Gege would throw us off for a bit, at least me. Hey, maybe all of this stuff is ABC for some of you guys, but anyway, Tengen would establish that each player will receive a shikigami called a kogane. They're said to be less game master than interface. The game master can be thought of as the culling game's program, and my reaction to that is about the same as Itadori's because what? Up next would be the rule about negotiating with the game master to add a new rule to the game. There would of course be no way to subtract a rule, but maybe ways can be found to counteract other rules, which I imagine is how this will play out. The new rule of course must be accepted by the game master, which sounds unfair, but according to Tengen, an equitable decision should be expected. Rule number 8 would be next, and I expected this one to last longer in conversation. However, it was simply Itadori stating that he again needs to kill people, followed by Fushiguro stating that no, he has a few ideas to work this out. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think these ideas might be. That was all the info they had to work off of, and with that said, it would again be confirmed that Choso and Yuki would stay to guard Master Tengen. As for Maki, she would return to the Zenin clan to collect cursed tools, which is exciting because at this point of the story, we might see something pretty crazy brought out. Itadori here would find out that Fushiguro is the new Zenin clan leader, but now wouldn't be the time to talk about that in detail. This was a big deal though. For things to work out in that way, it's just amazing I guess for Fushiguro. Surely it's more of a bother for him than anything, but it's pretty cool of course. And thanks to this, it would be possible to search the Zenin warehouse at length for items. But first, a place known as Jozo Kumiya's workshop would be mentioned. This was subtle between Maki and Tengen, but it sounded like something important, so hopefully we can get the full details on that later. As for Yuta, he would directly go to a colony and partake in the game to gather information before the others participate as well. He'd also plan to avoid nearby colonies, that way they don't end up killing each other. Then it would also be mentioned that barriers may block phone reception, meaning they'll probably be out of touch for a while. Unfortunate, because I'd like to see more interactions between Yuta and Itadori, but hopefully later in the arc they end up in the same location again. Suddenly though, both Itadori and Yuta would remember the agreement to kill Itadori if he ever switches with Sukuna again, which would not be impossible if they of course split up. Fushiguro would pause that thinking and reassure Itadori that everything will be alright, which I hope is true, but with Sukuna, anything is possible. And regardless, even if that happens, in the words of Fushiguro, they can just have Yuta kill Itadori anyway, which would of course be meaningless because the whole point is for Fushiguro to not get hurt, so stopping Sukuna after the fact doesn't really make sense, but hey, it's Fushiguro, so we let it rock. Maki would note that Fushiguro and Itadori should go to Kinji, the suspended third-year student. Kinji Hakari, a guy that Yuta would label as moody. The group would now, after planning, begin to split up, but just then Itadori would call out to Choso, thanking him for the help, to which Choso would simply respond to by asking Yuji not to die. Itadori would wave, and the group would now be split. I am seeing major death flags for Choso, and I'm just choosing to ignore them. I hope it doesn't happen, and I don't even want to consider it. He's too good a character to just kill off, so hoping for the best. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, a show would be concluding, a show by Takaba, a poor 35-year-old stand-up comedian, and poor meaning bad at his job, not poor meaning poverty. He'd get toasted after the show, told he should just quit because he's not funny at all, and being 35 years old certainly doesn't help his case. Another man would speak up in this room once the other left, stating that he doesn't dislike the jokes, and that even a man who's not funny can make it. There are two types of comedians which can be funny, those that are funny and those that think they're funny. Takaba would say that he's probably both, split about 50-50 or 70-30. He'd be revealed suddenly to be another player in the culling games, Fumihiko Takaba. Yet another chapter to prepare us for what's to come. The culling games are lining up to be an amazing arc with a lot on the line. The Shibuya incident will be a hard arc to top, but I wouldn't put it past Gege, especially with how this arc is setting up so far. I don't imagine we'll see Gojo anytime soon because of course when he's present things are dealt with rather swiftly. However, when he does return, I already know the fandom will go crazy and I myself am included in that. But yeah, what do you think about this chapter? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and drop a like to let us know you want more JJK content. Lastly, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on to never miss an upload. We upload almost daily and would love to have you join in on our discussions. And if you'd like to support what we do here even further, check out our Patreon link in the description below. Until next time, keep that plot armor on you. I'm KJ. Have a great day. Goodbye.